No, that would now I see what Bambi Bambanic. Yeah, but I was thinking more like 1970s. I was thinking how like um I was thinking more like how it reminded me of Misfit titles, and I was thinking like who killed Bambi with the Sex Pistols. I never put two and two together. And somebody told me that she was dating a cop. Well, so what? That's not even true. You're just fucking with my mind because the Bambi Bambanic story is awesome anyway. But she's no, and what does it matter if she did date a cop? It don't fucking matter. She's not really a cop. She's just a fuck up. Um, my family, there's cops. There's probably I think my cousin was an informant once when he was alive, and same thing with her family. They got people in the law and people outside the law in their family too. Well, I mean, what has Deerhead got to do with it? Now I'm paranoid. I don't think it would be Deerhead that would. No, maybe Pig Bitch. Pig Bitch was dating a highway patrolman and a first responder after I dated her. I seen her a couple times after that, but I can't imagine why that would interest them. I can't imagine. No, I think Deerhead's just like now's the time to snatch her up because I think she just hit loserdom and now she knows what it's like to be a loser, like her mother and like me. I just love that bitch, but I can't blame her. That's weird. You would try to make me think like that. Hmm. I want a Deerhead. Deerhead's great. Who cares what she? No, because she went to jail too many times. Don't you think if she had enough pulling the law? I don't know. That's a weird coincidence. I don't even think there is a Deerhead because I tried texting her recently and she hasn't texted me back. That's strange for her. That's not good. That's not a good sign. Nobody will text me anymore, but that's especially not a good sign. I hope she didn't get all those messages I sent her. I sent her like 10 billion death threats well, because basically you were telling me she was doing it. You were telling, it doesn't matter. That's in the past. But I hope that it doesn't, I hope that she doesn't see that. I mean, if she did, I hope that she doesn't worry about that. I love my dear head. That's why that's why I was so passionate about my death threats with her is because I really liked her. I always remembered her as being extremely kind, and it was mind blowing because I'm like, when did Deerhead turn into a fucking total fucking? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll always want to fuck a Deerhead. And that's funny that you just played that commercial about people with bug out bags and like getting ready to go off grid and shit. It made me wonder, like last week when this tooth thing started, I remember thinking I haven't had this much pain since my wisdom teeth. And back in the day, back in the old days, how did they deal with wisdom teeth? It's extremely painful. And I had my toothache last week, and I'm thinking, how the fuck did the Native Americans sit in their teepees in freezing cold upstate New York all those years ago and deal with a toothache that lasted 2 weeks? You just want to bang your head against the fucking rock. It gives you fever. The infection goes everywhere else. It's like we certainly take for granted. And I was asking my mother last week, about because we were talking about my great grandfather, and I'm like, what the fuck did people do without electricity? What the fuck you do all night? You can't even generate like white noise if you wanted to go upstairs and fucking leave the kids downstairs. You'd have to do so quietly because there's no Victrola yet. Obviously, there's no TVs, there's no radio. You'd have to be rich enough to get a player piano and keep loading scrolls into it. People take that shit for granted. Like television back in our day, they take it for granted now. I don't know what it's like in your area, but if you go out and buy a new TV and you have Wi-Fi and bring it home, you never have to order cable again as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they play a lot of old shit, but it's the Wi-Fi TV is the greatest thing in the world, isn't it? It's got hundreds of channels dedicated to certain fucking your peccadilly, your viewing kink. You want to watch the hunting channel? They got thousands of reruns of the hunting channel. They got thousands of the food channel. It's just fucking amazing. Back in our day, it was 6, 10, 13, and you could go over to UHF and get channel 23 in or something, or 45. And I remember in my day, if you didn't have cable, you had 3 channels, and then at midnight they'd play the anthem, and that's it. TV's fucking over with. I remember around the time Johnny Carson was on the air, I remember this, where TV was starting to stay on the air longer, and they would go till 2:30. They'd play like Night Flight, and they'd play like Solid Gold or something. And then you're like on a Friday night, you're like, oh, just enjoying my last bit of TV, But back in our day too, I don't know how your father was, but when you were like working class, because my parents certainly were, it wasn't unusual for your father and his friend to go out in the middle of the night, climb a fucking pole, and splice cable to your home. That's how I first saw home box office. And it would come in, but it would come in fuzzy if you didn't wrap the ground right, and you'd have to keep going up to the pole, but you'd still get it. It's like analog cable. Wasn't that amazing? And you were just like, oh, I hope we don't get caught. And I remember looking out the windows with my dad, looking at the cable company car, being like, oh, shit. And then around that time, you couldn't do that anymore. And they used to my father worked for the post office. They used to circulate cable filters there. There were these long cylinder tubes with a female coaxial end that you screw into your TV. And you put the cable in, and all of a sudden, you've got block channels. So basically, you'd have to sign up for basic cable. And you put one of these filters on, and you could get some people had the Spice Channel or whatever it was called back in the day, which was like one of the first pay-per-view porn ones and shit like that. Or you'd have an HBO filter or a Showtime filter. See, in my day, that's what it was like. I mean, you'd be there, and you'd have to watch the Saturday lineup of 227, Golden Girls, into the new Facts of Life, and then pretty soon you're looking at the clock. It's like 11:30. TV's going off the air soon. 3 channels in my lifetime. Kids today have no idea what the fuck I'm even talking about, let alone the concept. They can't understand it. It's like you've got 3 channels, and they go off the air at 12 o'clock. And that's why people get the chills, people my age, when they hear the anthem, I think. Maybe because it whips up jingoistic pride in your country and shit that you've always had since a kid. But to me, it does that, and it reminds me of television going off the air. And, it's creepy at the same time. Brrr, long drum roll. Dun, 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 dun. Do kids even know the anthem anymore? The Star Spangled Banner? Or do they even know? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do kids know that nowadays? That's kind of like praying in school, though, isn't it? I remember being a kid and thinking that. I'm like, well, we pray to the fucking flag every day. What's the difference? But then again, I spent most of my time in Catholic schools. But can kids do that anymore? Do the Pledge of Allegiance. What's the Pledge of Allegiance? To your fucking country. Take your fucking hat off and do it. Where's the flag? That's what I'd say. Where's the flag? You put your hand over your heart, right? I don't think kids do that anymore. And they also say that kids don't do cursive anymore. Handwriting. Say it ain't so. I mean, imagine taking your kid to jail or something, and he's got to write his name, and he prints it, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Sign your name." In lowercase with little bubble letters. You're like, "What the fuck? We sent you to a good school. Why can't you sign your name?" It's creepy.